Our next speaker is a 3-time best-selling author, a PhD in psychology, a doctor of chiropractic, and he helps entrepreneurs like you to access the big mind so you get the ability to think like Einstein and create like Michelangelo. Please help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Ron Stotts.
Everybody, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, my story starts with my hobbling out of the Marine Corps with a hurt knee and really a crushed spirit. And I just had absolutely no confidence in myself, my country, or in all the beliefs that I'd been taught in growing up. And as I re-entered my life, it was maybe about a year and a half later, I went into a gas station, and the attendant who came out happened to be one of the guys who was in my platoon. And as we were talking, he just casually says, 62 of the 64 of us are dead. I was so broken at that time that I don't even remember reacting. It was just another crack. It wasn't a while later, I went through a terrible divorce and lost custody of my 2 sons. I was at the effect of, my chemical imbalance and just ups and downs of drama and depression. And the truth was, I was trying to hold my life together, but it was a mess. It was a big mess. And, in losing my son, I'd also lost any sense of meaning for my life, purpose for my life. So what I did was I just decided to hitchhike up north and went into the mountains, hiked deep into the wilderness area and really spent just a few days looking at whether I was ready to leave this lifetime. And it was about the 3rd morning when I woke up and recognized, that's the choice that I want to make. So I collected my gear and got myself all ready, and I didn't want anybody else to have to pick up after me later. So went over and found a nice big rock, and I was sitting on it, and I found myself just really calling to God and saying, looking for help, looking for direction, looking for anything, and just saying, please, if you've got anything to say, any guidance you could give me, now would be a good time. Of course, all I heard was silence. And in that silence, I reached over and grabbed my hunting knife that I remember getting when I was 12 years old, and I was so proud of then. And without really any other thought, I picked it up and thrust it towards my heart. And just as that point penetrated my skin, I found myself dissolved in a ball of white light. I'd never experienced anything like that. I was just lost in this white light. There was no sense of my body or myself. But what I did have a clear sense of is just the purest love that I had ever felt. What I did have was a deep sense of the perfection of life and the trust that I could have in that life. I have no idea how long I was in that experience. It was just timeless. But when I did come out, the knife was about 20 feet away, and to be honest with you, I was just feeling lost and confused, and I just saw no pathway out of all the crap that I was sitting in. So I remembered we had an old rundown family cabin, and so I decided to go further up north into the cabin and stayed there. And literally what the journey looked like was just starting with chopping wood, carrying water, building fires in the old wood cook stove. When I wasn't out walking in the brisk, cold winter air, I had my feet in the oven reading spiritual books or philosophy and looking for answers, looking for direction, looking for some sense of what I could do. But it turned out it was really the months of being in that silence, months of just breathing into all that I had experienced, that I began to reconnect with myself, but not really necessarily rediscovering, but becoming a whole different person. I went on to get a PhD in psychology and a chiropractic degree, but it was really more personal and ongoing transformational experiences and my regular practices of yoga and meditation and conscious living that allowed me to reclaim my life, recreate my life, and really come into my power, to open up my heart. And in that process, I started using those same tools and same path and creating tools and a pathway for others so that I could serve them and help them reclaim their life. And not only reclaim it, but empower it and find themselves on a deeper level. The one thing I know that I really learned in that was the deeper you go, the more you know. You know what I mean by that? And in that experience, I found myself knowing when I felt like I was struggling and being held back from really my full potential. I knew when I was feeling like an imposter or not good enough. I knew when I wasn't taking as good a care of myself as I could. And I know you know those things too. And I know you know those feelings deep in your gut when you're feeling like you're not living up to your full potential. So when you're ready to create the most amazing life beyond anything you've ever dreamed, the first transformational story, the first transformational tool that you're going to need is to go deep within and reconnect with your inner self. And in that reconnection, not just find it, but fall in love with yourself, unconditionally accept and love yourself. I was working with a CEO in a high-tech company in the Bay Area, and he found out that I created Japanese gardens, and he really wanted one for his wife. And I was really busy with my practice, with my clients, but so I just didn't have time to do drawings and all the back and forth that would usually involve. And so what I did was I went in my back, up on the hill in my backyard in Mill Valley, and I sat on an old driftwood bench that I had built. And I did what I do best, and that is I just let myself breathe and get quiet. I visualized the space that I was going to create the garden in. I thought about the people that I was creating that setting for, and I thought about the transformation that I wanted that garden to have for them in their life. And as I continued to breathe and get even quieter, I just put that out and just trusting that the answer would come back into me. And as I sat there breathing and sitting quietly, all of a sudden in my mind I started visualizing and seeing this garden coming together. Initially it was the larger structures, the 120-foot stream coming down the hillside into a large organic pond with a turtle island in the middle. And at the far end there was this lovely bamboo forest and a nice tea house that I'd created so that she could meditate and look over the pond and into the garden. And then it started getting more detailed, starting to see the black pines and the Japanese maples and the grasses and the colors and the iris and the movement of all of that and the smells and the colors of all of that. It was one of the most beautiful gardens that I'd ever seen. And in about 3 months, it was done. I'd built the garden. Everybody loved it. Everybody was happy. And a short time after that, it had won some national and international awards, both for technical and design and beauty. So my question is there any time in your life where being able to access the best of who and what you are would be useful? Any time where you could just sit down and really tap in to that higher sense of who and what you are, like in your work, your relationships, maybe all of your life. All right. So would you like to have a little experience of what that's like? All right. Let's sit up comfortably straight for a moment. Just take a moment. And if you're comfortable, just begin to breathe. Just let yourself breathe full and deep. And as you breathe, begin to just let your body relax. And as you're breathing, take a step back from whatever is disturbing your life, whatever challenges you're having in your life. And as you breathe into that, begin to see what your best next step is. And from there, continue to breathe, but from a place of curiosity. Accept that best next step, and then move forward into it. Realizing that you could do every moment in your life this way, being present and mindful, breathing and being aware of what your best next step is, and consciously taking that step. If any of you are ready to really create your most amazing life, get in touch with me. I'd love to work with you. I really would. And I'd love to end on a quote. It's by one of my favorite poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it goes something like this. The only person you are meant to be, the only person you can possibly ever be, is the person that you choose to be. Okay? Take that in and realize that that's your choice. That's the person that you'll become. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.